EPGP office. A very warm welcome to you to the Valedictory Ceremony EPGC 2021 batch. On behalf of the IMK fraternity, I extend a very hearty welcome to the dignitaries, Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Director IAMK, Mr. Anil Swarup IAS retired, Mr. Anil Swarup IAS retired, Founder Chairman, Nexus of Good, Mr. Bharat Chaudhary, Commercial Director, India Ethical Business and International Markets, Abot Nutrition India. EPGC 2021 participants, Professor Rajesh Srinivas Upadhyayula, Dean Executive Education, and Professor Aishwarya Ramasundaram, Chairperson EPGP. We'll start the event by the lighting of the lamp. May I kindly request you to rise. Dignitaries, please join for the lighting of the lamp. Thank you all. I request Professor Aishwarya Ramasundaram, Chairperson EPGP, to deliver the welcome address.
Most respected dignitaries, Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Shri Anil Swarup ji, Mr. Bharat Chaudhary, Dean Professor Rajesh, faculty colleagues, and dear participants, a very good afternoon to all of you. We are lucky to have with us great minds today for this auspicious occasion. Shri Anil Swarup ji is there with us today. He redefined administrative ethos, and he has often been in the headlines for the good reasons during his career. And he went on to become the Secretary to the Government of India for the Ministry of Coal and Education, a strategic thinker and innovative leader, nominated many times as policy change agent by the Economic Times. And as you know, we saw earlier, we could, from his passion and the scintillating speech that he gave, we could see why he was the policy agent, nominated 4 times by Economic Times, Action Hero by Action Hero of India, and he has also authored the widely discussed ethical dilemmas of a civil servant. We have Shri Bharat Chaudhary, the Commercial Director of Ethical Business and International Markets at Abot Nutrition International, also holding the distinct privilege of being from our first batch of strategic management program. He's a passionate leader with commercial innovative ideas, and he is reimagining the future for the organizations he has been associated with. We have with us Professor Debashish Chatterjee, our beloved director, serving his 3rd term, which is a great achievement in itself, a great pillar of support and mentor in all our endeavors with his unique ideas and visions. Warm welcome to you, sir. I welcome Professor Rajesh Srinivas Upadhyayula, the Dean of Executive Education, who leads the EPGP program, my colleagues in academics and administration, and to all the dear participants. A very warm welcome for the valedictory ceremony. I see today's event as a culmination of efforts from the side of students, faculty, and our EPGP team to persevere through trying times of the pandemic. And here we are celebrating a very special moment after overcoming the many hurdles that the pandemic threw our way. Our institute has come a long way in the 25-year journey. We are now a double crown institution with the prestigious AMBA and EQUIS accreditations and are on a journey to become a triple crown institution, a coveted status among the management schools of the world. We have many things to be proud about: a pristine 100-acre campus, a world-class faculty with publications in international peer-reviewed journals, a very supportive and able administrative staffs, tie-ups with management institutions around the world, a startup incubator called Live, which mentors budding entrepreneurs, to name a few. We also take pride in staying true to a dictum of globalizing Indian thought by highlighting and disseminating best of Indian practices and Indic thought in our classrooms. If I were to write a book about IMK, the executive program will be one of the important chapters in it. Started in 2001, 2002 as a one-year program. This was a trailblazer in this field of executive education, and still many institutions hold our program as a model. Many schools have replicated the concept, yet we stand out with the highest batch and the best diversity possible. The reason is that we are very rigorous in our academics, and there is a wide acceptability that we have received from the corporate world. We also are constantly sensitive to the corporate heartbeats and the future industry requirements. The EPGC program is special to all of us, as this was the first program in the field of executive education, and today it has grown to 600 plus students that we have for the one-year EPGC program and the two-year MBA program. In the certificate programs, we started with 2 programs in the field of strategy and in marketing. Today we have 8 programs. They are certificate program in strategic management, marketing management, data analytics and decision making, financial management, digital transformation and analytics, operations and supply chain management, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and lastly, public policy and management. We have 189 participants registered, which was the highest in EPGC so far, and we have 161 graduating today successfully after completing the program. Our students are diverse. We have students with varying work experience, and this has added to the peer learning. About 14%, though I don't want to expose your ages, 14% are in the age group 23 to 29, 50% between 30 and 39, and 33% between 40 to 49, and 3.7% over 50 years, showing age is no bar to your learning. Our executive audience has an average work experience of over 10 years, and 35% of you are over 15 years in your work experience. The pride of EPGC program is our senior profiles that we attract. Our participants come from the IT industry, banking, consulting, education, healthcare, manufacturing, automotive, engineering services, food and hospitality, retail, technology, aerospace, real estate, textile, transportation, energy, to name a few. We also have diversity in terms of gender. This year, we have women representation 21.7% in our batch. Though the number might be small, it's a big achievement in the field of executive education, where we are doing quite well. And it's a 1.7% increase since our last year. And I also lastly would like to share that EPGC always holds the pride of being brand ambassadors of the IMK brand. Your learnings and the difference that you have made in your organizations and what you have given back to the institute is what really adds value to this EPGP program. So once again, a very warm welcome to all of you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. I request respected Director to felicitate the guest of honors. Thank you, sir. I request Professor Rajesh Srinivas Upadhyayula, Dean Executive Education, to address the audience.
Good afternoon. The voice is not loud enough. Thank you. Respected dignitaries on the dais, Mr. Anil Swarupji, Mr. Bharat Chaudhary, and our beloved director, Professor Debashish Chatterjee, and all the participants here, my dear faculty colleagues and staff. Firstly, on behalf of IMK community, let me wholeheartedly congratulate each one of you on your graduation from our certificate programs. All of you have achieved a significant milestone in your learning journey. It is definitely not an easy task managing three fronts: study, professional, and personal. Give yourself a huge round of applause. At the same time, we should also acknowledge the sacrifices made by your family members from the bottom of your hearts. Today, during the morning, we have heard from two significant change agents. Mr. Anil Swarupji, a very senior bureaucrat, who urged you to be good, see good, and above all, propagate goodness. And Mr. Bharat Chaudhary, Commercial Director about Nutrition, India, and an alumnus of the same prestigious program, who helped all of us realize to connect the dots from participating in a learning journey to managing careers on the professional. I would like to thank both of them for accepting our request to address you on this momentous occasion in your lives. Thank you. So the world, as you know, is currently going through a significant turmoil, as well as a transition. We have witnessed a lot of changes in the last about 5 odd years, be it the COVID or the recent war, or electric vehicles or ChatGPT. All of these are significantly occupying the mind spaces of individuals, organizations, and even societies. While COVID took around nearly 120 days to affect 1 million people, that is about from December 2019 to March 2020. ChatGPT, another disruptor, took just 5 days to reach the same number. While all of us know that change is the only constant, as alumni of this institution, you would be expected to lead and shape this change. I am sure that all of you have learned a great deal from my respected faculty peers. You may have learned tools, techniques, perspectives, solutions, and above all, asking the right questions. I personally thank them for contributing towards your learning journey. There is nothing more to add from my side than what my colleagues have brought into all of your classrooms. However, I would urge all of you, on behalf of all of us, to remember 3 things as alumni of this institution. First, basically rooted in context. While things such as ChatGPT or versions later, such as generative artificial intelligence or even hydrogen as a fuel, would reshape the world going forward, along with a few other surprises, all of us can help distinguish the applications or limitations of these applications of these transitions to individuals, organizations, and societies by a deep and nuanced understanding of the context. What distinguishes leaders from others is this ability to distinguish the nuances of the context. For this, I urge you have to be first authentic to yourself as well as others around you in the context. Second, creativity. And creativity primarily for sustainability. Human imagination is unbounded. Imagination and the associated innovation would help us use the resources of our planet in a sustainable manner. You've learned through our coursework and also through your significance experience on how imagination as well as innovation are used by many organizations. I urge that you take the present context at an organizational level, find possibilities through a structured or an unstructured process of innovation to help societies and organizations to sustain in the long run. And the third and most importantly, conscience for leading a purposeful life. Not many would have this opportunity to educate themselves like all of you. While education provides you an opportunity for personal success and contributing towards other success, it also helps you to distinguish between the ethical and moral dilemmas that all of us face while creating solutions for various contexts that we are in. Be well aware of the consequences of your creativity towards the context for leading a purposeful and fulfilling life. So, in essence, what I want to say is the context, rooted in context, creativity for sustainability, and conscience are all also interrelated. And the mutual and interdependent nature of these would help you live the values that is very close to many of us at IMK, which is propounded as Satyam, which is being authentic or rooted in context, Nityam, being sustainable, and Purnam, leading a purposeful and fulfilling life. Thank you and wishing you the very best and a fulfilling journey ahead.
Thank you, sir, for your inspirational words. I request Professor Debashish Chatterjee, respected director, to address the participants.
Good afternoon. You should have said same to you because you don't know what intent I'm saying this good afternoon. I almost went to sleep, then I was told that there's a valediction. And in that valediction, there's somebody called Mr. Anil Sarup who's going to be here. He's already spoken in the morning. I just woke up to that fact that I know this gentleman, very firebrand IAS officer whom I had the privilege to hear a couple of times. So I said, if I don't go, it will be lost my sort of repository of knowledge. Mrs. Swarup handled two ministries, as far as I recall. One was coal, the other was education. And I recall him saying in an IIT convocation or conference that both required digging deep. And so he was involved in depth work. I thought I would not impose another speech on you because you have heard Mrs. Swarup and a greatly accomplished person from your cohort, one of your cohorts, Bharat Chaudhary, who's sitting here and who's reached where he has reached by dint of his effort, and hopefully he gives credit to some of us for being where he is. So you've heard two speakers speak. I'm not going to dump anymore. Let the eloquence of God's on campus speak to you. Let our work speak to you. I will invite 3 questions, and we will probably ponder over these questions. What are the questions about? Questions about where you are right now as you transition from this campus. You know, the beauty about this campus is, now you'll warm up to these questions. I just want to see the rising of hands so that I can point towards this people who are going to ask these questions. And so as you find yourself in this campus, you'll realize that for once you are bereft of your conventional identity in the corporate space that you're in. When you come out of your everyday engagement with your identity at the workspace, you recognize that not many people recognize you in the system. And not to be known, to be recognized is a great virtue in a time and age when you're constantly bombarded with social connects and all of that. That's when you realize that all that is imposed on you is not you, is not real. All that you impose upon yourself by way of assuming your identity is also not real. And then when you deal with unreality, of the kind that you assume yourself to be, and those assumptions, when they fall away, this is a very liberating experience to be nobody. For a long time, I used to write on my Gmail address head that, nobody. So people said, you just can't, this is very confusing. I said, truly, this is confusing too, because I assumed so many things about myself. So when my first term as director was over and I was about to be given a farewell, good sense prevailed, and I said I would not accept that farewell, because in that farewell, people will say all kinds of things. The sun will not rise again in Kozhikode because you've made such a great difference. And then assorted stuff. And then the moment I am gone, which is also the truth, you will say, look at that humbug. What an assumption he made of himself. As though the sun would not rise if he did not come here. And so I realized that the vanities that we assume to be our true nature aren't our true nature. Once you step out of office and recognize that we are what we are, bereft of those imposed dimensions, then you recognize that the work that has to be done will be done. And we are part of the larger process of doing the work. Who gets the credit is a matter of destiny. But the fact is that I often get a lot of that credit, sometimes undeserved. But I accept it with humility. And so I open this to the questions. I'm just thinking that you might take some time to formulate these questions. Otherwise, I'll do a cold call, and that's not going to be good news. All right. And so anybody who would have a question to ask. This could be about your current reality, your anxiety about the future, your assumptions about what you thought was the goal of coming here, whether they were fulfilled or not, whatever comes to your mind right now. Yes, sir. Would you identify yourself by your name? There's a mic that's coming to you. Take this. Thank you.
So my name is Sudhakar. I'm from Bector and Dickinson from the healthcare.
Wonderful.
And one of the policy advocacy student. So the question to you is, when you formulate the new verticals each time, the response versus the challenges you face. From your side, we would like to listen, because we are all versatile students come into the one classroom and you have to manage 20, 30 students. Your side, because we have always come with a great expectation and we go with a nice journey or whatever, no, some nice 1 year. So from your side, over last 3 occasions, now how did you face and where do you feel we are?
In terms of your verticals of the subject silos that you come on.
So each time you come out, there are 8 verticals now.
Okay, you're talking about those verticals.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is verticals are essentially what the market demand tells us about. So the market throws up opportunities that there's a bunch of people who in the space of AI or operations or HR, there's a gap, there's a learning gap, and you need to sort of address those gaps. And so we look at the market and we say, okay, here is what the market is signaling to us, that this is what the market wants. These are competencies, these are skill sets that are missing. And so we probably would be able to give that response. But, unlike many schools that are driven by the market, we don't always get driven by the market. We believe in driving the market. One of the aspects of IIM education is that we are in the business of 4 things: knowledge creation, knowledge dissemination, knowledge accreditation, and knowledge monetization, which is by way of fees that you pay. Now, all 4 are important, but knowledge creation happens in tandem with what we detect as in the signals from the industry. And then we offer you a potential course, which is something that you have to choose from many other options. When you choose us, it is incumbent on us to see that you have assurance of learning that is promised in the course is fulfilled. And that assurance, when it is fulfilled, we accredit you by giving you a valediction, right? And then we get some money out of you, which is what the monetization business is all about. But the fundamental driver of all of this is creation of knowledge, which is what our faculty does day in and day out. That's their business. They curate, they create, then they disseminate. And you're the recipient of that. Is that clear? Thank you. Next one, please. Who's going? Yes, yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Divya Salian, and I am from the OSCM batch. It's a great honor and privilege to be here amongst all of you all. And my question to you, sir, is learning is supposed to be ongoing and continuous. It's not just one course and one theme that you participate in. So, what would be your one piece of advice for people like us who want to keep, doing what we're doing professionally, growing even in professional front, as well as keep learning? How do we manage everything and make sure the learning doesn't end?
Yeah, you're assuming learning happens. Please sit down. You're assuming learning happens inside a classroom and in the context of some courses or curriculum, or maybe in a specific period of day, night, or month. What we know as learning is fundamentally how we adapt to reality. How do we constantly reframe ourselves to face what is real? So, for instance, when we had this vision called globalizing Indian thought, people said, okay, we'd like to learn more. What is this thing called globalizing Indian thought? So Mr. Shashi Tharoor came and asked, how can you globalize thought? I said, what else can you globalize? You tell me, except thought. And so when you talk about globalizing Indian thought, so it was not just a slogan. It was an aspiration that was born out of our own learning about our own country. This is one point, most populous country in the world. I mean, I don't know why we should jump around to celebrate our population, but the fact is that this population means that this 1/6 of humanity that is jostling around for scarce resources will have to learn to see how, first of all, how we survive, number one, and then as we survive, how we thrive. And so when we look at a country that is on the mode of thriving, moving away from survival, then it has a way of surviving, way of thriving. So those ideas that come from our soil, from the way that we, despite all the constraints, how we manage those scarce resources. I still remember my first talk as a Rotary International Fellow in the United States was a bunch of North Americans. And I said, do you know what a half-boiled egg really means? So promptly the answer came, half-boiled egg is an egg that's boiled for half the time. I said, no, it's a fully boiled egg cut in two halves with a small thread because the mother had to divide this equally between two brothers. I happened to be one of the two. And so a small miscut here and there would mean that you should earn the wrath of one of the kids. And so it had to be precise, a precision job of a surgeon. And then you'll have a half-boiled egg. So for instance, cutting chai, this would be absolute enigma to a lot of other people, but we have learned how to do it. This is the same nation that has a CEO that is running a $1.9 trillion enterprise, Satya Nadella in Seattle, right? His new product is based out of compassion. Why compassion? Because his own kid just passed away and he had a mental problem. He was a lover of music. He could not change channels by himself. And so he had to be given a device by which, by just the nod of the head, he could get the channels to change. And that was a product of Microsoft. And so if it wasn't Satya Nadella, I wonder if Microsoft would have taken that kind of trajectory. And if Satya Nadella would have ventured into that kind of trajectory if he was not an Indian. Sometimes I do think that Indian thought has an extraordinary impact in the world. And it is there because we have learned through trial and error how to live. In most parts of the world, whether it's you drive on the right or left, in India, we learn how to drive on whatever is left. And so our innovation, our creativity was born out of desperation. Sometimes the nation grows out of aspiration, sometimes out of desperation. We have the advantage of both. So this is a country which is a country of number 1 in population, number 3 or number 4 or number 5 in economy, depending on how you look at it. Our Prime Minister says even the NRIs are included. So you're already a $1 trillion company. I mean, that is political rhetoric. But if you ask me, this country is a rich country of poor people, some very, very poor people. poor not defined just by economic parameters, poor in terms of the skill sets. And so we have the burden, the best of India sitting here, the burden to take the rest of India along. This kind of an enormity of challenge, where else will you find? Where else will you find the kind of dichotomy as you move from one state to another? This is another continent altogether. Where else you find the rich list of a learning laboratory that you have in this country? So management, which is essentially context specific, gives us an opportunity to tell the world how we did it. And the onus is on you, on the threshold of becoming a CEO, just like we see Bharat sitting here. When you become a CEO, how would you do it differently? That will be the evidence of our learning. And so the long answer to your short question is, so how do you do it? You do it first by intelligent action. And then you realize that that action has results and consequences that you have to manage. And then your learning starts. Some action will bear fruit, some will not be. So when we started many of our ideas in this campus, something radical gender diversity, we brought 50% women. In our cohort of 2013, 54% roughly. And it earned the wrath of all my colleagues in Ahmedabad, not just the colleagues, primarily the administrators. Why did you have to upset an apple cart? I said, look, this country that has half its population not been able to enter the portals of management education because you have this test which is not a level playing field, because for a middle class Indian to send the daughter to a coaching school is far more difficult than to send the son. So if there was just enough money for one, the son would make it, not the daughter. So we had a way of getting this. And that as a result of that one decision, the IIM average has gone to about 30% for women, whereas it was 8 to 10% before we took that step. So a decisive step in one direction may have backfired, but I think we succeeded primarily because our heart was in the right place and we were trying to do something that was just and right. And so many of these decisions were part of our learning curve as an institution growing up. And then so we realized today that even sitting in Kundamangalam, where air connectivity was so bad, the director before me had to go through Dubai to attend a meeting in Delhi. So that was the shortest route. So we had to negotiate with, this is like two hills on two barren hills, and you call it an IIM. Political decision. It's like giving a bald man an ivory comb to brush his hair with. And what do you do with these two barren hills? So a whole generation of professors, directors, all came together and put together something that is evidently the pride of India, right? So much so our Prime Minister says that we want to host a conference with chief secretaries and of states and some of his secretaries. So the question that is asked to me, do you have a round table space which can sit 200 odd people with the Prime Minister? I said, I don't have one, we'll create one. Or do you have a suite room for the Prime Minister to stay? I said, I have my bungalow, he can stay there, I can go and stay in my guest house, and that's not a problem. The question is that we are on the radar because we have said that it doesn't matter where we are located geographically. We are geography agnostic now. We were the first IIM to start executive education for corporates digitally in 2001. Perhaps among the first in Asia to do so for corporate executives. And you can see where we have arrived with that. And so fundamentally, what you define as learning is a series of what you call thought out action. And sometimes you learn, some of our actions did not work. For instance, I wanted to start a course called Money to be taught by 24 faculty. It bombed because it was very difficult to get 24 faculty to collaborate on a course across silos. So some of these ideas will not work. And so learning is essentially a function of curiosity, which is what you have to be curious about the world and you have to experiment. And in that experimental process, you will make some mistakes, get some knocks here and there. But if you don't, then your learning will be compromised. So you will retain your identity in a safe and secure cocoon. And you'll be beautifully prepared for a world that would no longer exist. All right, that would be the challenge of not learning. Right? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
My name is Pawan Kumar. I follow you on LinkedIn. I read you also. I followed you from Kochi to Kochi recently. Since you are heading the institution, which is the tagline is globalizing Indian thought. last time we had discussion about, Gandhian leadership, and you spoke around maybe half an hour or so on that subject. And you answered a few questions posed by our batchmates. So they have nominated me to ask this question to you now, that as per the Gandhian leadership, Gandhian thought, what is the solution for Russia-Ukraine crisis? What is the use of Gandhian thoughts? We could not resolve this crisis, which is actually is problematic for each and every individual country in this world.
Great question. I wish I had the bandwidth and the capability of answering your question, but I'll tell you, I just met a bunch of Russians yesterday. They were on campus to do business with India. Evidently, none of the Western world is allowing them to do much business now. So this is the vice chancellor of the #1 private university in based in St. Petersburg, and her whole team was here yesterday, and they went around the campus to see. So if you look at the nature of a crisis of this magnitude, a crisis will not come from just economic considerations or purely political considerations, in my assessment of it. It'll come from a mind that it'll come from a mindset that is constantly determined by what the world, how the world describes. See, the point is that the mindset of an imperial power is based on aggrandizement. So what do I do if I am a politician in that space? I would like to maximize power. Just as a professor wants to maximize marks and knowledge, and student wants to maximize marks. So if my identity is woven around how do I maximize power, that's where a crisis, because power, by definition, you cannot maximize power without trampling on some people and making them powerless in the process. So if you see power as a zero-sum game, that's where, and so that is the mindset of the imperialist. The mindset of the businessman or imperial businessman who wants to conquer, market, dominate, hegemony, market share. His mindset is, how do I sort of get all the resources, all the profits? How do I sort of decimate my competition? That's the same mindset. So if you look at what's happening in Ukraine, is not a nexus of good, as Mrs. says, but a nexus of aggrandizement that gets connected to each other very quickly because the motives are the same. Now, where does Gandhi come in here? I mean, Gandhi, not as a person, but Gandhi as a way of thinking, he comes in because he recognizes the limitations of this pursuit. He recognizes a purely human-centered world based on aggrandizement. It's non-sustainable. He talked about sustainability long before it became a corporate slogan, right? So what is sustainable? Nothing in the world is sustainable, except the awareness of the fact is nothing is sustainable unless you're willing to change. So the face of capitalism has gotten modified. It hasn't changed. So you look at capitalism, now we are talking about knowledge capital. We are talking about social capital, intellectual capital. But the fundamental is that how do you amass, how do you massify and aggrandize? That mindset itself is what Gandhi had read long back. So his weapon against imperial power, when the British, if you see the evolution of power in the agrarian world, physicality was power, muscularity was power. If you had larger land masses, if you look like King Kong, you would be king, and women had no chance, of course. That was physical power. Then came the next revolution, which was the machine revolution. We replaced the muscles with machines. So if you could replicate muscular power with machines, you would be so every European country that you think of today, England, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, they conquered the world by machine power. And then came information revolution, where if you could hoard information and create the gopher, they could collect information before anybody else. And then you had Olas and Ubers that conquered the world, displaced. If you look at Amazon, the Amazonization of the world, that is precisely information power, collected information and outclassed others, out-informed others, so to speak. Information became the basis of power. And the next power was fundamentally about power of how do you use ideas to dominate, war of ideas. But if you look at the relevance of Gandhi, what kind of power did he bring? He brought that power. See, when Lodhis conquered India, the Lodhis thought they were invincible because they had the elephants. Lodhis were replaced by the Mughals because Babur brought horses and horses outran the elephants. Swifter, faster. And Babur's Mughal empire was eclipsed by the British because they got gunpowder. But they were not prepared for a Gandhi who had brought a very different notion of power, which is the power of the soul, Atmaval. And that part of the soul was unknown to the, and so they were confronting something new for the first time. And so fundamentally, you can see the notion of power has moved from sthula to sukshma, from the crude to the subtle. And as you move towards greater subtlety, you realize that the most subtle thing is life. If you annihilate life, what is left? And the point I'm trying to make is that as you move in the power equation, you recognize the relevance of a Gandhi because he foresaw a lot of things that we are talking about, the brink of the world, the brink of extinction, literally. He foresaw. And so those are the things that you have to give enormous credit for. His last few conversations, one was about Hitler, and he said if there was a fight between Hitler and you, who had a better chance? He said, obviously he would annihilate me, but he will, my ideology will triumph over his. And so love will triumph over hatred. And so that was his abiding belief. And we see the relevance of that. I'm sure you see that as well, as a discerning journalist. Thank you. Anybody else? Well, I don't want to delay this for too long because the guests will, yeah. So maybe two more questions. Then
Hello.
Two, three.
Hello.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Naveen. I'm asking this question on behalf of my batch, which is marketing. So basically, I would like to know the opinion of global ranking of Indian management schools, because there are lots of debates happening in the world, or maybe at least in India, saying the genuinity and stuff. So I would like to know the opinion from your side. Yeah.
On global ranking of management schools.
Yes, of Indian management schools.
Indian management school. Okay, please. So why does it have to come from the marketing department on behalf of everybody?
Finding some ways to make it better. Yeah.
Well, we're not in the business of marketing rankings, but I can tell you ranking matters. Ranks don't as much, but ranking matters. Because ranking is a process of understanding which is the race we are running. And what is the goal? What is the finish line? Who are other players in the system? To that extent, it matters. To tell you the truth, we have gone up in ranking, but I'm not sure if I've gone up in the right directions. So we have gone up in NRF ranking. We ranked ahead of IIM Lucknow, which is much older than us. 2 years we've ranked in QS. We'll be soon ranked in FT rankings and all of that. These matter because you now know in a pecking order where you are with your cohort. But you know the what ranks do is they sometimes destroy the unique ability of an institution to express itself in a way that is not always measurable to start with. Suppose I decide to charge you a fee. I reduced the fee of PGP program by 30,000 rupees and it made headlines in the newspapers. We take a fee cut, which simply means you're running against the trend, right? It might mean financially, your board will ask questions about that, but you also want people who cannot access IIM because of the enormous amount burden of loans and all of that. Our thumb rule is that you can pay off your first year, a loan with your first year's salary, this course is feasible. That's the Indian way of orienting themselves towards courses. And so what we recognize is that in order to follow the herd in a particular way we are ranked, we sometimes have to compromise our own autonomy in terms of how we want to grow as a school, differentiate ourselves in many ways that we possibly cannot if we are too caught up in that. So I would say from the marketing point of view, it helps us brand and it helps us attract talent. And so we are very wary about, we have a full-fledged accreditation department, but we don't display our ranks too much, because of the simple reason that is going to sip in as the only rationale for existence. It's like playing cricket with eye on the scoreboard. So we have to watch the ball. We have to see what we can do differently. IIM Kozhikode has done things very differently from the rest of the IIMs, and we would like to continue to have persist in that mission, right? So hopefully you understand where we are coming from. Okay, ranking matters, ranks. I mean, eventually you realize Harvard is never ranked #1 in any of the major rankings of most schools, most ranking, but you know what the mystique of Harvard is. Would you go to any other place, even if the rankings are inward? So you have to reach a place where an institution is known very widely beyond what the market describes it as. Its value proposition. So a consistency of values in an inconsistent world is what the market eventually lauds, when the market eventually prices. May not be in the interim period, but in the long run it does. But we have done well, not to say that we are not doing well in ranking. Every year we are growing in that dimension. Thank you. Maybe one more. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Arunika Sharma from Public Policy Management Batch.
Right.
So I just have a small advice to take from you. Like a lot of educational institutes are coming up with executive educational courses, and a lot of professionals are now doing these courses alongside their, work. So they're also, no doubt, they're enhancing their skill sets, but they're also doing their consultancy or they're doing their work. But after enhancing their their skills, they're doing a lot of consultancy, or we call it moonlighting nowadays. It was also in a debate in news lately.
Sure.
So do you think it's right that we do some sort of executive educational course, enhance the skill set and do the work they're doing, and open a startup and do the work, maybe do the government consultancy, and do not do justice to the work they are doing right now, and open up a startup and do the work which they're not supposed to be doing, or just to make the money, or
Go to ask this question in one sentence. What is that?
uh,
I'm not going to ask you to repeat the question. Just reduce it to one sentence.
yeah, is it
Yeah.
good, or
What is that? If you had to ask the same question in one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Executive educational courses doing the right thing to enhancing the skill set, or is doing justice to the job not
Got
good?
it.
Yeah.
Please give her a big hand for making the attempt. I appreciate that. It's like this. Organizations create a motivational map for everybody. So if you do this, you'll get a bonus of X amount of money, or you get a holiday in France, whatever it is. Organizations will never look at micro motivations. I'm not sure if you expect an organization to give you something that is in the nature of specifically what you want, tailor-made to you. Moonlighting has been our passion and our national identity since school days. So whenever there's a rain, everybody jumps. The teachers are saying, "Oh, I don't have to go to school." Even the principal is saying, "God, a holiday." So whatever. So moonlighting is nothing new. The things that's happening in the corporate world, because people count their money there more. So it's come to light once in a while, but that's not my concern. My concern is that you have to understand the difference between what an institution that provides general management education, such as ours. What we do is we give you a broad framework, a set of tools, a set of, a basic belief in yourself, an aspiration, an identity, a set of value, professional values, which are all generally, authenticity is something everybody knows that we need to be authentic. Now, how authentic you could be is largely your call, right? So fundamentally, you can't expect a company, just as you can't expect a company to give you a motivational thing that exactly suits you. You can't expect an educational institution to give you tailor-made stuff that will suit you. What it will do is give you the big picture. I talked about globalizing Indian thought, and different faculty would want to interpret that in different ways. You talk about authenticity. For some people, authenticity would mean don't tell all the truth, but all that you tell should be the truth, at least on Fridays and Tuesdays. That's your modified version of authenticity. Now, what you do with authenticity Or you may not just not care, okay, it doesn't pay for me. I mean, that's your interpretation. So general motivation will have to be interpreted. So you have to create your own way, own pathway of taking this learning to its logical conclusion. That's why learning does not stop with this valediction. Learning this is the beginning of telling you that you are free from classroom learning, and you drop off from classroom into a bigger classroom called life. And in that, your learning will have to be between you and your life. It cannot be mediated by any other person. Maybe somebody who's experienced enough can reflect back to you what you do not do, give you a directional component. But the entire onus of learning is on you. So we make you more curious, we make you more learnable, and we enhance your learnability. Not necessarily give you content, but we enhance the ability, how you learn is what we are concerned about. And when you got that, when your curiosity is unleashed, then you can learn from anywhere. I'm going to end with a story, since it's a very, very good question that you asked. There's this little hilltop school like ours, and there was this person who was presiding over it, and his job was to train his own students to be teachers. So he sent 2 of his students to teach the most illiterate yet rich people of a particular colony. So they were all rich, they made their money through businesses, but they never went to school. So his job was to teach them. Their job was to teach them. So all students went, and within a week, almost all of them came back. All of them came back. And the head teacher had 2 favorite students. One was Gautam, the other was Gyan. So Gyan was always upset because the head teacher the guru would always favor Gautam. He said, Gautam is, you see, he will make the difference. So Gyan said, why am I any worse? I'm just as good. I've done the exams just as well as he has. But what is so special about Gautam? So Gyan comes back after 7 days, and Gautam also comes back after 7 days. And all of them say, well, they can't really be taught. They don't have basic education. How can you teach them this hard stuff of life? So Gyan says, yes, that's true. I tried my best, but I couldn't teach them anything. So the head teacher, the guru, asked Gautam, did you also have the same experience? Yes, I also have the same experience. So he said, look, Gyan said, so what's the difference between us? He said, you ask him what he did when he found out that nobody could be taught. He said, then Gautam said, look, when I realized that I couldn't teach a shoemaker calculus and all of that, when I could not teach a carpenter who's made a lot of money, but no basic education, I learned some shoemaking, I learned some carpentry, and I came back in 7 days' time. You learned and came back. And then the teacher said, look, that's why Gautam is what he is. That's why I like him so much. So this is fundamental. There's always a learning opportunity, even from your failures. And if you can keep that fire alive, then you will know that fire will be discovered for the 2nd time in the history of human civilization, except this time, the spark will come from within you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir, for sharing the wise and inspiring thoughts. I request the participants to receive your certificates from the dignitaries. As Professor Aishwarya Ramasundaram, Chairperson EPGP, call your names, program and roll number wise. Please come to the dais to receive the certificates. After receiving your certificate, please go back to your seats and remain seated.
We'll go program by program. Participants of the Executive Postgraduate Program in Strategic Management will receive their certificates now. Anand Sagar. I request our director to give the certificates to our participants. Yeah. Arishu Metal. Arnav Paitandi, Arun Kumar Samal, Ashish Prabhakar, Atul Shukla, Bharat Subramanian, Bindu Mariam Varghese, Chinmay Aparved Patil, Dhruv Dakonia, Jega Jeevaraman Perumal, Jignesh Janardhanan, Joe George Sebastian. Please keep the applause going. Kalyan Sundar Roy, Kumar Sugu, Prashant Dikshit, Ramesh Chand Rawat, Ravish Malhotra, Sandeep Samsi, Shibu PV, Shobin Babu, Sushanta Kumar Behera, Tej Varun Tyagi. We will next have the certificates for the marketing management program. I would request the director to continue handing over the certificates. Jinesh Baby, Krishna Chaitanya Banda. Please keep the applause going. Lijit Jose, Madan Kumar Govindarajan, Muhammad Niaz, Narayan Iyer, Naveen Yu, Nikita Negi, Rahul Sardana, Ria Sanjay Parekh, Ridhima Bal, Ritu Pushti, Shweta Pandya, Shainu Tamparampil George, Sunny Kumar Sharma, Vivek V, Yukti. We will now have the certificate distribution to the participants of the Operations and Supply Chain Program. Akansha Deshmukh, Akhil S. Menon, Anand Sampath, Divya Salian, Gautam SG, Kancharla Venkat Kumar, Narendra Prabhu, Layatmika Khatua, Nayan Kumar I, Padma Nair, K. Saravana Kumar, Sonpal Singh Hajari, Surendra Gowda. I now call upon the participants of the certificate program in financial management, Banaja Acharya, Deepika Upadhyay. Give them a big round of applause, please. Garima Sharma, Naveen Kumar Singh, Nupur Pai, Ravi Kumar Jangir, Sabu Jose, Sanyam Jain, Suman Dash, Vishal Kumar, Vishal Suresh Gag. I now call upon the participants of the Digital Transformation and Analytics Program, Abhishek Kumar, Amar Gautam. A big round of applause, please. Amrish Kumar Chandan, Anurag Patni, Arjun Ghosh, Jagadesh Sahadevan, Manoj Bharatwaj, Manoj Sitaram Sirsat, Priyank Surani, Purushottam Raju Devaraju, Rohit Kumar Sahu, Sanjeev Kumar, Santosh Subramanian, Sunil Kumar Kanderao, Swapnaja Sahu, Swenson Obed Sundar, Tanmay Mayur Vora, Vikas Chandra Pandey. I now call upon the participants of the AIML program, Ankuj Vashne. A big round of applause, please. Bhupinder Singh Manhas, Bilal Iqbal Mistri. Keep the applause going. Rishikesh Kumar, Jeevanandan Kumaraswamy, Nikhilesh Mehta, Kamidri Prasanna Kumar, Praveen Kumar, Ravi Kishore, Shakuntala Shivanand, Srikant Vinakota, Stalin Babu, Sundareshan Ishwaran, Suryansh Singh, Venkata Narasimha Reddy. I now call upon the participants of the Data Analytics and Decision Making Program, Abhishek M. A big round of applause, please. Barsha Sinha, Gopinath C, Guhan B, Kumpatla VVP Naidu, Prashant PV, Rahul R, Ugramohan Jha, Vishal Jaiswal. I now call upon the participants of the Public Policy and Management Program, Ankita Sharma. Please give them a big round of applause. Arun B, Arunika Sharma, Shahak Mittal, Krishna Kumar Iyer, Choragudi NV Ashish, Pavan Kumar, Pradeep Joseph, Priya Gupta. Please keep the applause going. Reggie Koshi Daniel, Shailendra Verma R, Shailesh Kumar Tiwari, Sudhakar Merpadi, Sunil Kumar Savaram, and Yogesh Ramrao Godse. Can you all please be seated? I would request you all to please resume your seats. We assure you that we will share you the photos of the event with individual photographs. We now go on to announcing the certificate of merit, which is based on scholastic performance, the first rank holders of every program. The certificate, I request Mr. Anil Swarup ji to hand over the certificate of merit to our winners. The certificate of merit for securing first rank for the EPGC SM program, Strategy Management, goes to Sandeep Samsi. The certificate of merit for securing first rank in the marketing management program goes to Mohammad Niaz M. Please give them a big round of applause. The certificate of merit for securing first rank in the operations and supply chain program goes to Divya Salian. The certificate of merit for securing first rank in the finance management program goes to Suman Dash. The certificate of merit for securing first rank in the digital transformation and analytics program goes to Tanmay Mayur Vora. The certificate of merit for securing first rank in the AI/ML program goes to Rajesh Kumar Keshavdas Buva. He will receive it in absentia. The certificate of merit for securing first rank in the data analytics and decision making program goes to Kumpatla VVP Naidu. The certificate of merit for securing first rank in the public policy and management program goes to Shivani Bari. She will receive it in absentia. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. I request Mrs. Simi, Administrative Officer of the EPGP program, to propose vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. On behalf of the IMK fraternity, I thank our director, Professor Debashish Chatterjee, our leader whose vision and wisdom guide us in all our endeavors. Thank you, sir. My sincere and wholehearted thanks to the chief guest for today, Mr. Anil Swarup, IAS retired, the founder chairman, Nexus Good, and Mr. Bharat Chaudhary, the commercial director, ethical business and ex-India countries at Abbott International. They spend their busiest hours of the day with us and grace this occasion with their enlightening sessions. Thank you, sirs, for making this day a special one with your presence. I thank Professor Rajesh Srinivas Upadhyayala, Dean Executive Education, for his constant support and guidance. Thank you very much, Professor Aishwarya Ramsundaram, Chairperson EPGP, for the advice, guidance, and the great support. I thank Professor Chitwan Lalji, who kindly acceded to our request to moderate the plenary sessions. I thank all the faculty, staff, entire academic, technical and administrative community under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel retired Julius George for their relentless support throughout the program. A special thanks to our wonderful team at EPGP office who worked hard to make this event run smoothly, and a special mention to our technology partners, Times Pro, for their technical support. Finally, and most importantly, I thank you, the participants of the EPGC 2021 batch. You made this day, rigorously planning a whole year and balancing well your personal, professional, and academic life. Thank you very much for making this program and the event a grand success. Thank you all.